I don't think I've ever
Welcome.
an actual thing there. I fucked it up again! Every
Welcome
time.
to Friday Night Party Line. On the show tonight, we've got Skojo. Hey, Skojo.
Oh, crap. You went with me first?
Yeah, that's right.
Hey,
How you doing, man?
how's it going? Yeah, just got back from Seattle. I spent like a week
Nice.
out there. I got to see Roe. I got to see all sorts of Seattle sites.
That's good.
And I wasn't there during PAX. Haha.
Haha. We've got George. Hey, George.
How's it going, everyone?
Woo. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. Week's over. Happy. Month's over.
Woohoo. Oh, wait, is it? Oh, yeah, this is the last Friday of the month. Look at that.
Yeah, I know. I put in my my time card today.
Ah. We've got Rim.
I can't
Where the
believe
hell have
I'm
you
here.
been?
I
Jesus.
can't believe I'm here. I don't know. I changed jobs. I've been flying around, working on secret projects, starting a convention. Stuff's been going on.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. What was that last one?
Yeah, Scott and I are starting a convention. If you do,
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, cool.
it's gonna be in New York. It's gonna be expensive, and that's where the Patreon money is gonna go.
The Patreon money that you guys, quote unquote, never spend. That's where it's going.
Scott always wants to spend it on useless crap, like buy me a camera and.
I don't know if that's useless, Rim, considering how much
Well, no.
video content you guys put out.
Oh, he doesn't want a video camera.
Oh, what?
He wants he wants a fancy non-video camera.
Oh, he wants to have a
What?
good Geek Nights Instagram, right?
Get him like a Canon Rebel DSLR. They're like $200.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's what I
That's
got.
I'm looking at some fancy studio camcorders though to up that game a little bit because our camcorder is real old.
I hacked the firmware on my NX500, and now it can record for unlimited, which is fantastic.
I should do that for my GX1.
Yes, do that. It is great. It actually got better quality than I don't remember what he was shooting with, but I loaned my camera to my videographer friend to film my best friend's wedding, and my camera got better quality video than his super fancy Canon. So I don't know how that happened, but it did. And of course we got Chirba. Hey, Chirbs.
Hey.
You are beard free.
Yes.
Weird.
Getting ready for the warmth of summer.
Yeah, it's starting to warm up and it was getting really annoying, so I just shaved it off.
I didn't actually realize you were a seasonal beard wearer as well as me.
I do, like, when it's winter time, it's beard up.
Yep.
Then it's beard down when it's summertime because it's way too hot to have a beard. Like, it's going to be 35 today. That's bullshit.
I
Like,
typically shave my
35
beard
is
depending on.
bullshit.
Yeah. I typically shave my beard depending on how self-conscious I'm feeling about all my grays. So if I want to look a little bit younger, I'll shave all my beard off, like really nice clean cut.
Actually, I'm not sure if you've noticed, but if you go back and look at the footage, sometimes when I move my head, you can see the slash of grey that's like across my lip in my beard.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm getting
Ray,
like nice.
Cool.
I'm getting skunk spots like right on my sides, and I get those in my beard like nice streaks. I'm getting this very sort of like silver fox look going if I get a little older.
Oh, for
I've-
Christ's sake, Rim.
I'm real happy about how that's coming
Hey,
in.
Victor,
I've
your
had,
your
like-
gray looks pretty good.
I've
Well,
had the
thank
silver
you,
dashes
Skojo.
For like pretty much longer than I think you've known me.
I wish I had hair. So fuck.
You should have kept
you.
just one of them.
Yeah, I know, right?
Just
I
one
know,
really
I know.
long
Poor
one, like,
George.
right on the
This is
middle.
like, poor George. This is like us. This is us complaining about grays are like a shark hearing someone complain about how their knees hurt.
I just would like to note that I'm older than all you guys.
Yes, you are.
And
Yes,
you are
you
are.
less grey than Victor.
And you still have
You're
this
less gray than me.
glorious head of hair, you asshole.
I am younger than literally everyone on this show, and I have like 90% more gray than everyone.
Hey George, I'll do you a deal. Next time I go up the barber's after I get a haircut, we'll get them to sweep it up and I'll chuck it in a bag and chuck it in the post.
I will take you up on that purely because I just want to see a bag of your hair arrive.
Wait, you don't know any spells or shit, do you?
I was about to say that's gonna get witch powers.
That's like a recipe for a voodoo doll or something.
You're not a, you don't know any cloning techniques, right? We don't want a bajillion
Because-
turbos running around.
Or do we?
I just want to warn you.
I'd be okay.
I'm immune to magic.
Are you?
Yes, I've never bought a card.
What a bum.
Actually, there is like about 200 cards up in my shelf there, but I didn't buy a single one of them. They were
I
just
have never
random cast-offs from packs.
I've never bought nor owned a single Magic card in my life.
Nice.
I've never done that.
Due
either.
largely, and I will say this, due largely to Rim.
Really?
I played Magic from beta through end of the revised era is pretty much when I played seriously, and I learned my
can't-
lesson.
I can't count how many times I heard you on the Geek Nights podcast call it money the wasting.
I spent a lot of money on those cards.
Yeah,
All right,
I
well,
didn't
before we get
have money,
started,
so
hold
I
on.
never played.
All right, hang on. Before we get the show started, and I'm doing this just because post-production me is so lazy. So lazy.
It sure is.
It really is. I'm going to take this moment and thank our wonderful Patreon supporters, of which two are present. So taking a moment to thank, in no particular order, George Davidson, who is George? Do you know you were our first Patreon supporter? Did you know that?
I did not, but
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
I accept
George,
this honor graciously.
it is wonderful. George Davidson, Cold Guy, Ethan Fryer, Pinup Citizen, Justin Chapman, Gina Moreno, Brendan Brothers, Yaddle, Geek Nights, which Rim, there you are. Rochelle Mantanona, Funeral Cleavage, and our
funeral cleavage.
a little bit. And our newest Patreon supporter, Dexter Colder. So thank you to all of you for tipping a little money into the hat each month. Stuff like your generous donations is what allows us to do things like at the moment, the Patreon money is entirely covering my Creative Cloud subscription, which is fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah, which is
Because I know you're
pretty-
not getting that from my
it is a wonderful thing. Actually, want to talk about money coming into Frostworks. The Trump speech generator is
Maybe
actually.
maybe
well-
we should talk about money coming into Frostworks there, partner.
Believe me, man. The minute Frostworks can fully pay for itself, because I got about an $800 payment to the Bureau of Equalization coming up in March.
Oh, it's alright, brother. I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, I know. The minute Frostworks can pay for itself, I'm gonna be sending some your way. But yeah, no. The Trump speech generator is actually making a surprising amount of pennies. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Anyways,
See if you can get a term sheet from the White House.
Actually, at this point, you could probably get appointed to be the head of HHS or something.
hey.
Oh.
Actually, just as a random side note, I actually did get an offer to interview for, like, basically jumping straight to the final interview, to be a speech writer for the government. Like, not federal, just
Wow.
state. But I'm just like,
Ah.
oh,
Well done.
Did you accept it?
no.
He's not stupid.
Is it a right-wing government?
In this state,
Yeah.
Oh my
that is a
god.
complex topic. I will have to explain that off air, though, because that involves
Yeah.
stuff that could give away a bit too many personal details.
Right.
Oh my god, what have I done right in life?
What?
I just pulled up the AdSense for the Trump speech generator, and I'm getting rates per thousand of like $2.81.
Trump's profitable. See, Trump's even helping your bottom line.
That's weird.
Trump
is
has
really
definitely
weird.
helped my 401k.
That's the Obama economy. Excuse me.
Yeah, the trouble is his new tax plan is literally designed to fuck me personally.
Do you guys want to talk about? Do you guys want to talk about the tax plan? I know it's not on the list of things, but that's come out fairly recently. You guys want to start with talking about the tax plan?
I know nothing about the tax plan, so someone will have to either link me or, perhaps since this is an audio medium, someone can explain it to me verbally.
Yes. Could someone?
So
You guys
the
Okay.
relevant
go ahead.
part of it is that one of the things it does to sort of increase some revenue without increasing taxes is, removing loopholes and making tax code simpler. And one of the things they want to do is double the standard deduction, meaning that a lot of people, well, possibly might not pay any taxes because their standard deduction is really high, and most people don't itemize their deductions. However, there's a very important deduction that's pretty much only used by New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, and that is the ability to deduct state taxes that you paid from your federal taxes. And that is probably the biggest tax relief that middle class and upper middle class people in those 3 states get, and even lower middle class to an extent, because those states have very high state taxes. So it's almost like this tax plan is designed to hurt states that vote Democratic and states that have high state taxes, and redistribute that wealth towards states that have almost no state taxes.
What is the tax rate in New York?
I don't even know.
You want to know the best
Alright.
part about this?
What do you
The
What's the
pay,
best
like,
part?
person-
percentage
the
of your
one
salary?
person we are explaining this to live is currently studying tax law.
Who's in there right now, Chirps? I haven't poked my head in
Jay
yet.
Bance and
Oh, cool.
Wealthy Aardvark just joined us.
Very
One of
nice.
the-
Very
So
nice.
yeah,
One
Rim,
of
from
the
what you
wonderful
described, that would
Metamandics
hurt me as well, because I take
Yeah.
that as
Basically anyone
Yeah.
who takes that deduction is really hurt by it, and it seems like the only people for whom that deduction matters are blue states.
because blue
that's-
states have taxes.
Yep.
And you know what? I'm still going to pay my taxes and not complain about it because I'm still fine.
Oh, my complaint is not. I'm not saying, I don't want my taxes to go up. I actually want my taxes to go up, but I want the taxes on rich people to go up too, and the taxes go down on pretty much everyone who makes more money than me.
Yeah, and there was some weird thing about the deduction for like children, and the more children you have, like the deduction gets even worse and
So
worse.
the alternative minimum tax would potentially be removed, and that's a weird tax that's designed solely to ensure that people who have a ridiculous number of tax deductions still have to pay taxes, because you could structure your taxes in such a way that you actually get negative tax liability and the government would send you some money. And the easiest way to do that was to have 1 billion kids.
Here's a funny thing. Do you want to know who one particular person who the majority of their tax paid comes from the alternative minimum tax, and without it they would pay less than, I believe, 3% tax? I'll give you 3 guesses, and the first 2 don't count.
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump?
Bingo.
I'm going to go with Bill Gates and Warren Buffett.
You know what's also
No?
Haven't seen their
No?
taxes.
Okay, Donald Trump.
what's really amusing is they didn't touch the real estate tax deduction that you can deduct your real estate taxes.
Because that's
Uh,
really popular.
Yeah, because
And-
if you
yeah.
remove that one, you
And the
basically
mortgage one.
fuck the whole middle class.
Yep.
Who do those benefit? Developers? People who own a lot of real estate? What?
I mean, the gist of it is that this tax plan is, one, not actually written yet. It's just a bunch of talking points. They haven't actually proposed anything specific yet, like no real legislation. And 2, it's pretty much just a giant tax cut to people who make a lot of money and no recovery of that revenue at all.
Deficits
Yeah.
only matter when the Democrats are in charge.
No?
Pretty much what was expected then.
Yeah.
I think literally a Republican said that, like when they came over and asked. They're like,
So the question is not like what the tax plan does in any detail. The only really interesting discussion would be, could it become law in the U.S.?
Could it?
I find it difficult.
I mean, the Republicans in Congress are basically facing the same problem the Democrats were not too long ago.
It also eliminates the estate tax, apparently, this proposed tax plan, which is another big regular
Oh,
Republican
no, you
talking point.
can't call it the estate tax. It's the death tax, because that sounds
Yeah.
way scarier.
That bit of tidbit comes from Jay Bance in the chat.
yeah,
Yes.
the estate tax, which only affects estates over like $5.5 million.
No, see, no, it's the death tax. It's going to affect everybody because everybody dies.
It's going to prevent those farmers from leaving their farms to their kids. Even though they looked around and tried to find a farm that was affected in this way and never found a farm that was.
Just what could a banana cost? $10?
$20? Oh, speaking of which, did you see that motherfucker who, I believe it was just yesterday, it was saying oh yeah, regular people, they'll get an extra $1,000. They can buy a new car or renovate their kitchen. I'm like, I got some news for you, son.
Yeah.
I am confident I could purchase a car for $1,000, and it would technically meet the dictionary definition of a car for a small period of time.
For a small period of time.
You can very easily buy a car for $1,000.
The first car I ever bought was $3,000 in 1997 dollars, and the engine exploded 3 years later. So, literally, it exploded, and the hood went up, and then a bunch of debris fell out the bottom.
I bought a truck for
Rim, did you-
$100 in high school.
I'm sorry, Rim. What the fuck did you do to that thing?
It was a turbocharged Plymouth Laser. It would go about 140. Well, really, it would get about 120, and above that, the speedometer would just kind of bottom out.
And I'm guessing you never put any oil in it.
Oh no! So it had bad lifters and all these other problems. I didn't know enough about cars, and I kind of just ignored all these problems that were growing. One day I took a road trip, and I averaged over 100 miles an hour across the QEW all the way through Canada, and then the next morning, that was it. That killed it. Because when I slowed down to go through the tolls and go through customs and all that stuff to get back into the States, the engine was making a bunch of noises it had never made before. And I was like, I should get that checked out tomorrow.
Little did you know, tomorrow couldn't come soon enough.
In his defense, that's a Mitsubishi 4G63. Those just explode.
No, yeah, those are terrible.
For no reason.
All right. I feel a little less bad.
They just kind of explode. They're what's the term? It's like the star that burns twice as bright lives half as long.
So that car
That's those engines.
It didn't redline until 8,000 RPM, and it could really accelerate in the 6,000 to 7,000 RPM range.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, back to
I just
tax
realized.
reform for a second.
I never told you about. I'll have to tell you about my Mini sometime, Rim.
Well, while we're on the subject of cars, let's go on and talk about one of our actual topics for the evening.
Facebook.
Yes, exactly. No, China joins the growing movement to ban gasoline and diesel cars. According to the Chinese government, it's become the latest company to publicly discuss plans to ban the production and sale of gasoline or diesel-powered cars. And they are going to be the nail is going to be going in their proverbial coffin of it by 2040.
Oh, good. So long enough for someone to actually develop a fun EV that's worth driving.
I'm going to let that ship sail. I'll be happy when humans just don't pilot vehicles anymore.
Yeah, when we're all boxed in.
Some of us actually like to drive.
Oh, I love to drive, and I'm willing to let that go. I'm just willing to give it up.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Rem.
No, George, not you too.
Look, you just have to look at statistics. We are, as a species, we are hilariously bad at piloting these steel death traps we've constructed.
Never mind just the human cost of the gas distribution networks and oil and the economies of scale you can eventually get out of electricity generation compared to fuels. I imagine what New York would smell like if there wasn't any combustion engines other than delivery trucks.
Poop. Pee.
Yeah, probably.
Piss.
Yeah, it would in fact smell like poop and pee. He's right there.
Yeah.
But,
I reckon you should put it in the brochures, though. Smells like Paris.
I will say that having spent a bunch of time in Paris, Paris smells way more like piss than New York does.
So
that's because
New York. That's because New York. That's because New York has the wonderful smell of internal combustion. to dilute the piss smell. Imagine if that was all gone.
So does Paris. It's so polluted. They had to ban cars older than like 1985 or some shit like that.
Yeah,
I
Paris
don't
has
know.
Literally
terrible
cannot
air
drive
quality.
old cars in Paris anymore because the air is just too dirty.
Like
I
actually,
don't
New
know,
York
man.
City.
Like in my mind, when I am in my 50s and 60s, I want to be like Jay Leno and have a huge garage
A
filled
huge
with cars.
automated car. A
Have
huge
a
automated car.
huge-
No.
Have
be
a
rich enough
huge
to have a
closet
track
full
on
of
your
computers
property.
you built.
and you drive your cars around on your track on your property. But you don't drive them to
But
work.
No. No.
I was
Oh.
thinking the Minority Report.
Churba,
You ever
I
see the
can't
Minority?
be alone on this.
Yeah, look, the Minority Report movie. Did you ever see the Minority Report movie where they have the cars
Yes,
and like out
yes,
in the
yes, I have.
country they drive, but then as soon as they hit anywhere other people would possibly be, it goes into automated form and just joins the train of other cars that are going in.
No.
Like that's my ideal setting where you're just kind of like, okay, you can drive out in these country areas where it doesn't matter, but as soon as you get anywhere where there's people,
No.
you have to
That
join
is-
the train and move on.
No.
That is not my ideal setting because they had these, like, you remember those flip guns they had that fired a wave of concussive force that just knocked people out? I'd be in fucking jail because I would use that thing daily. Oh, what's that? You're taking too long in the line at the bank? Bwomp. Oh, can't decide on your coffee? Bwomp.
I guess though I sidetracked all you guys because I went right for the self-driving because that's not what's happening here. This is about
No.
banning internal combustion.
Yeah.
No, this is about banning internal combustion, which is something I am honestly.
It's sort
It's
of-
just if it doesn't happen via legislation, it's just going to happen at some
See,
point.
Well,
but here's the rub for me. Like, I wouldn't have a problem with EVs naturally coming in in replacing internal combustion engine. That's not my big issue on this. My issue on this is that EVs, the way they're designed right now, they're designed to be essentially just as much an appliance as your cell phone for one, and your TV and stuff like that. And I like working on my car. And if I can't do that because of fear that if I put my wrench in the wrong place, it's going to vaporize my arm, you know.
My
I don't know.
counterpoint to
Well,
that is that
here's
the
the
only
thing.
way laptops and phones got better is by making them appliance-like. To make something that is serviceable, it really limits the ability to make that thing advance in technology.
But I don't. But
Unfortunately,
the
that's
difference
true.
is with laptops
I
and
don't-
computers is that you have the component market to build your own computer.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening with cars. With
Well,
EVs.
why not?
Because because people already, even with their gas power cars, most people really look at their cars as appliances anyways.
No, but there's always hobbyists. It's just like the computer
Yeah.
market, right? You're saying most people are buying something that's like a little tiny box and it does everything they need. And then the people that are hobbyists buy all the components and put it together. Car people are the same freaking way. They buy like some car and they customize it and screw around with it.
Oh, there is one difference
Yeah,
though.
there's
Cars, we can just ban which cars are allowed to drive on the road.
Yeah.
We
yeah, that's also true.
can. It's difficult. There is a lot of push. One like the automotive industry has a lot of push, and also back to Scott's point about people building cars that are going to be customized. Like there are lots of people that are building their own electric cars out of cool old cars. There's like
Ah. In fact,
electric
actually,
Volkswagen Beetles
Yeah.
and
I would argue that
M2s
other
and-
than battery technology, electric cars have the potential to be more easily modifiable than traditional combustion, like modern combustion cars. I'm not going to compare it to like, I don't know, an old Model T because you could fix that with a wrench and some pliers and a rubber
Yeah.
band. But
no, that's absolutely. I would argue that they are similarly difficult. Modifying a modern car to do anything better than it's already doing is very difficult.
Yeah, you pretty much either need to buy expensive parts that are built for purpose and know what to do with them and how to tune it and everything else, or you need to be really good at parts fabrication.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, just like even like
I'm not
adapter
quite
plates.
That good. Or I can
Even
make
like adapter plates for transmissions.
And like I can bore out my own cylinder
yeah.
heads and things like that, but actually making my own cylinder heads, chances are
Yeah.
fucking zero.
You can buy. One of the reasons I bought a car with a Chevy small block V8 is there's a ton of aftermarket cylinder heads you can just buy.
I mean, I'm really not seeing.
Look, you
It
just
being
have to
quite
get
as-
used to the fact that this is going away, and you want to know why it's going away? It's going away because
The cost in human blood and lives.
no, seriously, the world. We are literally destroying the world in more ways than one, and like just in global warming, there's enough oil that's already purchased. Like it's in the ground, they haven't pumped it out yet, but it's owned by someone. There's enough to heat the world like 6 degrees centigrade. It's just there, and we have to give oil companies some sort of incentive not to pump it out of the ground and fuck us. And the only way we're going to get there is if, countries like China say, okay, we're not having the internal combustion party anymore. We're doing something else.
And yeah, look at this from China's perspective. China has a climate and like just human life disaster going on in terms
Yep.
of pollution. Like China is experiencing a health crisis, and this actually seems like a very reasonable step to take to deal with that from the perspective of public health and safety.
Yeah, because they don't really... Basically, what's happening to China right now is literally what was happening to Los Angeles in the 60s.
Yeah. We're just going to all roll coal. Obviously, that's the pathway to the future.
Now, the argument I usually see against this isn't what any of you brought up. It's usually that people argue that current gasoline and diesel are more energy dense and more efficient at being converted directly into combustion. So I'm curious.
They're fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a engineering marvel what they've done with the internal combustion engine. But at the end of the day, it's still throwing carbon into the world. And like battery technology is just getting better. Now, I mean, there's lots of downsides to batteries, like is it going to mining all of these raw materials, all kinds of other things, is that worse? But climate change, like mining batteries isn't causing climate change.
Well, I think there's an economy of scale to be had, especially that actually can only be accomplished by governments and gigantic multinational organizations. Like nuclear power requires massive infrastructure that's global to be more efficient, but it could be much more efficient. I mean, the United States really isn't building new nuclear reactors. We're using old technology. There's much better technology that exists, and it's going to take a long time. But the amount of energy we can get out of even the current levels of like uranium mining, the economy of scale of protecting. Sorry, I'm really distracted by those echoes.
Scott Johnson, you suck.
So there's a crowd control strategy I learned about a while ago of you basically point microphones at an angry mob or a speaker, like someone who's giving an agitating speech, and you play directed sound back at them that's themselves at a slight and varying delay. And very few humans can continue to keep a train of thought together through that.
Yeah, the
Here's the
varying
trick.
delay is really...
You could hear me
fun.
just slowly like losing my train and getting more and more generic, and then I was done.
But no, you're right.
Yeah.
Like, for example, there's like an economy of scale thing, like a gasoline tax. That is considered in America to be political suicide because it's considered a tax on the poor. The problem is the poor people, the vast majority of people, are the ones burning all the gasoline. Doesn't really matter what the 1% rich people do. They can buy all the muscle cars and sports cars they like. It doesn't matter. They don't drive
their
enough.
private jets are kind of a problem.
Well, I mean, though, is it any wonder that
really
is? I mean,
Private
but is it
jets
any wonder?
compared to commercial flight?
Is it any wonder though that used electric cars are the fastest selling used cars on the market? People see the advantages of having it, and
I'd believe it. I'm just
Yeah.
hoping that they
I'd buy
actually
one.
make a fun electric car soon, because
Electric
of the ones,
Miata.
none
Well,
of the
I-
ones that are out now are actually that fun to drive.
I test drove
Teslas are
one of the
supposed to be
fancy Teslas when I was in Singapore because they had a whole like exhibition in the mall where I was staying, and they accelerate to a degree that is terrifying in a way that
They're so fun.
like no normal combustion engine would be capable of.
Oh no, there are.
Oh yeah, no,
there
there.
are
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay,
no.
I'm ignoring the
So-
Lotus
so-
Elise and I'm ignoring drag cars.
no, we're not talking
no.
about anything
We're
like
talking
that.
about production cars. Rick.
Yeah, stuff that there's like thousands of.
Thousands
Like
of them.
thousands of units, not thousands of different
Hurricanes.
cars.
Lamborghini, you got the Hurricanes and the
Well,
Lamborghini.
No, I'm talking
the-
about, you know.
All right, so
Ferrari
the Model S
LaFerrari.
goes 0 to
Drag
60
cars.
in 2.5 seconds on pure electric.
Ugh, it's like being kicked in the
Okay.
spine. It's incredible.
It's so good.
2.5 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay,
However,
but the Dodge Demon, however, does a standing quarter mile in less than 10 seconds, I think. It will accelerate so hard that even though it's only rear-wheel drive, it gets perfect traction because it lifts the front wheels off the ground.
The Tesla set a world record this year for the standing 100. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah.
Standing
Tesla.
100 isn't a 9.9 quarter mile is in the 130s to 150s.
I'm reading this
I also-
article right here.
Is
I also remember they were claiming that they also shattered the production EV record at Pikes Peak with the fastest time ever by this great margin. But they also didn't mention it was a heavily modified Tesla, and the car that they were beating was a bone stock Nissan Leaf.
well,
So
they
qualify-
wanted
Okay,
Qualifiers
so
are necessary.
the Tesla P100D with some custom firmware, but otherwise stock components, 10.78 seconds for a flat quarter mile.
All
Or a
right.
standing
So,
quarter mile.
much as I would love to keep talking about cars, we do have other topics to get to.
I'm
let's-
just saying that there are, like, you've never seen a thing with a trans brake. A trans brake is
I don't even know what that is.
so what it is, and let me explain this real fast. Is it's an automatic transmission that's been modified in such a way that it can engage first and reverse at the same time. So then you turn this on, you floor the throttle, you store up a ton of energy in the torque converter.
Oh, good
and then you
God.
let reverse go, and you launch with 500 pound-feet of torque instead of 100 pound-feet of torque, which is the most you could hold with just the brake pedal.
There's an
Okay.
entire Wikipedia page dedicated just to this topic.
Yeah.
Now I need to.
Is that
explain-
surprising?
I need to
Yeah.
explain two things, but they're both very brief. First, I love watching Rim look like how I look when he explains something technical in like his field. And second, George, I need you to divorce Chris and marry me.
Can you get a sex change?
I was hoping for a green card more, but we'll see how we go.
Sex change first, then we'll talk.
All right. Well, next topic. Much to absolutely everyone's surprise, turns out that Russia bought a shit ton of ads on Facebook, micro-targeting influenceable people to vote for Trump.
Wait,
And Twitter. And Twitter.
Twitter.
Well, didn't Twitter
Twitter.
just testify before
hold on,
Congress?
hold
like,
on, hold on,
yesterday?
hold on.
Yes.
Are there ads on Facebook?
Yes. Yes, there are. Even if you have ad blocker, sponsored
Cue the Harry
stuff will
Potter
still
music.
poke through.
Harry, there's a world out there.
Yeah, but anyways, yeah. So Facebook is going to be turning, I think, either is or has at this point, Russia-linked ads to Congress. They're saying that it sold over about $100,000 worth of ads between 2015 and 2016 that led to fake news web pages and were bought by advertisers operating out of Russia. report released on the 20th noted that the Senate Intelligence Committee expects the social media titan to testify about the advertisements, and Facebook agreed that they will also share the 3,000 plus advertisements themselves in question. So, hey, look at this thing that everybody knew was happening and that Facebook said that, no, they didn't have any impact on the election. What? No.
It's fascinating that there is no doubt by anyone that Russia specifically intervened in our election to try to elect Donald Trump.
The only people that are doubting it is the Trump administration.
Yeah.
So the only
pretty
question
much
is
just Trump.
who on the Republican side of the United States, is there a split between people who don't believe it versus people who realize it's literally the only way for them to retain electoral power? How much of this is deal with the devil versus actually that dumb?
Depends if you're talking supporters or actual, like,
Politicians.
in-power Republicans. In-power Republicans, I'd say it's majority deal with the devil.
Which is why I wonder,
Yeah.
like, if the Mueller investigation, because it's focusing so much on these money laundering stories that have been going around for, what, like 6 years of these old money laundering stories?
Oh, yeah.
What if that money is being funneled into the Republican apparatus as a whole, and that's the real fear that comes out?
Mm.
Do you doubt that that's the case?
Oh, no, I don't doubt it at all, but...
'Cause I have almost no doubt that that's what's going on.
Yay.
Well,
Are you
I mean-
are you insinuating that the entire Republican Party has been secretly funded by the Russian government for the past 20 years?
I'd say 10 years, 12 years maybe. I
well,
feel
then
like
I guess the,
I feel like
well,
there's
then I guess
been a
the-
yeah,
Go
there's been a
ahead.
decided shift as time went on, as the party sort of became more and more what it is today, for lack of a
You
better
were kind
word.
of buddy with them during Bush Jr.
Yeah. Well,
No,
Like
Yeah.
I think there is a strong argument for 20 years there.
Yeah, no, you're probably right. You're probably right. It probably started around with the invasion of Georgia that occurred during the George W. Bush administration. Like, we're all forgetting that because we all think about the Ukraine
yeah,
and
yeah, and
every
the
other
U.S.
thing.
didn't really respond in any meaningful way to that.
no.
No, and that kind of taught
I mean,
Russia
it was
that-
me. I mean, and then there was Churba. What was it that me and you and Nelson were watching live about a year or so ago, and we literally saw attack helicopters firing onto people through Facebook live streams?
Oh, I think that was one of the Middle Eastern revolutions. I just can't
Yeah.
remember which one.
There's so many. not even like to trivialize or anything, because obviously it's enormous events, but
Wasn't
literally there were
Syria?
so many.
Yeah, like
No.
during that period of time, there was something like 4 or 5 countries that had either massive protests that turned
Yeah.
violent or large-scale revolutions. So,
Well, I guess here's the question: what really would be the Russian government's endgame, and is it the Russian government, or is it just the Putinocracy of the Russian government today? I mean, if the endgame was to destabilize the U.S., well, good job. How does that actually benefit Russia?
Oh, it's not the U.S. It's NATO in general. If you can break apart the alliance and splinter the the Western bloc,
even then, to what end? So the Soviet Union
Profit?
reforms, but
Profit?
no, at what point? At what point they can't? Even if they take over the entire former territory of the Soviet Union, then what?
then they're a superpower again.
We're-
They just want to be
we're-
respected.
I don't know. That seems like the goal.
yeah, they do have kind
Then
of
what?
different
Rule the
goals.
world. Then what? Take over the rest of the territories they didn't control when they were the Soviet Union.
But which they? I mean, there's the government that ostensibly is probably trying to do these things just to deflect from the fact that the country is probably collapsing under them. There's the Russian people, who would probably be much better off with a scaled-back Russian government.
That's where I was getting to. The they is not even a unified they within the government. Because you've got the faction who's behind Putin for basically the money and the power and the benefits. because they're living a comfortable life and getting rich. Then you've got the
Well,
faction who are there
that's a
for the
small
power.
percentage of people, though. I
Within
think
the
it's a
government,
lot of
yeah.
the. I
We're
think it's
talking
very
about
similar
just
to
within the
Trump
government
supporters.
for the moment now. Hold on. Like, just within the government, you've got the faction that's behind Putin for the money and power, all that shit. You've got the faction that's supporting Putin because they want a strong, large-scale Russia, and they want to return to when Russia was a major superpower, and they see Putin as the way to do that. He's a means to an end, so they're just going along with him, even though they don't necessarily want him around so much because he's a weird psycho who keeps killing people. And
Yeah,
then you've
but
got
I
the Russian
think-
people who are basically just going, fuck, we're just going to make do with whatever we get because we have no fucking clue what the hell is going to happen next.
But I guess a re-Sovietized Russia is just an economy barreling toward collapse like a race car at the end of its race, and there's no end game to it.
Well,
You mean like the original Sovietized Russia?
Yeah.
well,
It's-
Soviet.
it's a-
We're not talking. I don't think their goal is to bring back, Soviet style communism.
No, I think it's to bring back the Soviet, like the Soviet infrastructure and the Soviet power, but with a like sort of controlled capitalist economy.
To bring
Sovietism
back the
without
empire
communism.
without the problems that caused the collapse of the previous one.
Yeah. Because at least the Soviet Union, for all its trouble, had the ostensible paper goal of, for the people communism. It seems like the new Russian Empire wants to be that without even that pretense.
Wait a minute. Let's go back for a second. How many people of those people were in the Gulag?
I was very clear on paper and the word ostensible.
On paper.
Yeah, ostensibly, yeah. After we got rid of everybody else, the people
So
that are
more
left.
information about the more information about Facebook's disclosures is going to be forthcoming as the situation develops throughout the course of the investigation. One last topic for tonight, and then we're going to we're just going to say what's been making us happy this past week.
Well, the wheel make a deal. Which one is it?
So the Emmys happened last week, and they had a very special guest. Spicy was on deck.
I'm
How
appalled.
tone deaf can you get?
I
I
didn't
didn't
care.
know about this at all.
Did they
You-
use some
what?
more shrubbery on stage to make him comfortable?
Other than the fact that you linked it in the Facebook chat we used to organize these things, I had no idea this happened, and I did not care.
So
Trevor,
I saw it-
am I just that much bit too industry to realize that to think that you guys actually watched the Emmys? Is that
Yes.
what's happened here?
Yeah.
You are too industry. In fact, I believe they did.
You're
the
too
PPP
industry to
polls-
think that we watch television.
See, the PPP polls
Emmys are
did a
television,
poll.
right?
No, but they did a poll where they asked the favorability of award shows, and they polled lower than Trump. So that's how popular award
Well,
shows are anyway.
Yeah, no, that is very much the case. The only reason anybody I know goes to the award shows is to get the free goodie bags.
So I was actually very aware of this, but not because of the Emmy stuff, only because of all the political essays about how this is a very crass attempt to humanize and normalize the members of a effectively fascist movement by means of like superficial pop culture.
Yeah, that's essentially it. I can get behind that. Yeah.
But
And
he's
Spicy
out
needs
of
a
the
job.
fascist movement.
Doesn't matter,
is-
George. He's still
out
got
of-
book deals.
He's
Let me
just
put
out
it-
of his previous specific job in that movement. Nothing else
Yeah,
has changed with him.
let me put it this way: if you take a nice big swim through a sewage pond and you get out of the sewage pond, I'm still not going to hug you.
I mean, it
say,
was a
say
an
Trump
attempt
tomorrow
by,
just says it was all a prank and he resigns. It's not like we're going to suddenly respect him. It's not like we're going to suddenly give him a pass to go back to being a like reality TV star.
Well, unless Trump stands in front of the White House, pulls off a mask, and it's that Maria something that performance artist, that Russian performance
But
artist.
it was me, Dio.
A reality show that starred all the ex-presidents that dealt with Trump leaving the office and joining their house. I'd actually probably watch that.
I would watch that.
Yeah.
I think Obama would be really funny on it, and so would Jimmy
that
Carter.
would be hilarious. But yeah, I think this is well. If you guys didn't watch it, maybe what's the point?
Well,
Is there another
it's
last
hard.
topic we can have?
It's hard to say because on one hand, the people who made that decision are either so divorced from the reality of politics that they don't understand what they're doing, or they did it on purpose.
I don't know who made the decision, but I would believe that since Stephen Colbert was hosting it, he would have had some say. I don't think he would have
know.
let it happen without his approval. So
That's what I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of talk about how it came to be, but the audience shots very clearly cherry picked to make sure they didn't show anyone who was not happy.
Yeah, well, that's how it always is. I could probably make a phone call and find out, but which is a weird thing to even hear myself say. But
Wait, hold on. You can make a phone call to find out?
yeah, I know some people who worked the Emmys that night.
Dropping some names.
Well, I've dropped
Please,
literally
by all means,
zero
see what
names.
you can find out, because I want to.
Well, it's not going to happen right now. This will be something I'd have to come back to next episode
no,
with
of
information.
Well, the only
about.
question I have, the
But-
most important question is, what's an Emmy?
The Emmys, also known as the Daytime Television Emmy Awards, because it's only for not daytime. It's the primetime television awards, is what's colloquially known as the Emmys. Is an award show that's been happening since the early 1950s. And so,
Oh God, this is what I sound like when I talk about a trans break. Fuck.
it is. To those of us around here, it is known as the time where we are inundated with FYC ads. That's what it is. For your consideration. So.
I still can't get over this trans break. I'm just looking at it.
All right. Well,
So
at
what
any rate,
exactly
it was
are
a
those
bad move.
FYC ads like?
There'll be ads in the newspaper saying, for example, let's see. Nominated for best actor, nominated for best acting in primetime television drama, Breaking Bad, for example. Obviously, it wasn't for this one.
consideration.
For your
to get an
consideration,
award.
you'll get stuff if you are a member of any of the major unions. You'll get stuff in the mail, DVDs, free download codes. Things like that, like say for example, if you're a member of SAG or AFTRA or the Visual Artists Union, VFX Union, you'll get stuff in the mail for that. And then and then banners, the banners on those street lights. Now those will all be FYC banners. And then about 3 months later, you'll go into Goodwill and you'll find for your consideration DVDs filling the shelves. So FYC season happens often around here. SAG, Screen Actors Guild. Yeah, replying to Jay Bance's question in the comments. So yeah, it's FYC season happens about 3 times a year. So, which is great, unless you're sick of FYC ads. So,
Yawn.
Anyways, all right then. So let's go on to what's been making us happy this week. Churbo, what's been making you happy, my friend?
Pretty much a lot of heat signature, and having the opportunity to talk a lot to someone who was very dear to me. So yeah. Well, when you can't picture people in your head, you got to take what you can get.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll make you sad. That's right.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that's right. Heat signature. Anyway, basically, if you remember the game Gunpoint, if you don't, you should go and buy Gunpoint. Also, there was a game called Gunpoint. Basically, detective runs around a city, jumping through windows with gadgets, punching people, and doing noir stuff. Heat signature is basically that detective in space. There's space on the other side of the window he's leaping through.
There you go.
You are flying around, jacking ships. It's a good time. You should do it, and find some of my hilariously dumb named weapons, like Churba's gun, the hammer.
So you're not. So you haven't been getting in on the all that alien action in Elite Dangerous then?
No, I've been letting the whole Thargoid thing just settle itself down a bit. I'm millions of miles away from where the Thargoids are appearing. I'm actually waiting until they kind of come a bit closer to my region of space. Because I don't want to fly fucking something like 7,000 or 8,000 light years just to show up and get blown up by some big veiny motherfucker.
that takes a lot of time to actually get that far. Yeah. George, what's been making you happy this week?
The look of sheer awe and wonder on Rim's face as I described a trans break.
It's so crazy.
Yeah, dude.
Man. I'm like looking at these animations of like just videos of people using them, and it's just
It's hardcore race technology. It's awesome.
Man, Rim, if you like that, wait till you see how a VTech works.
Wait till you see when it just kicks in, yo.
Oh.
I was actually driving Chris's Civic. That was another thing that was making me happy this week, is I was driving the Civic Si to work, and oh man's VTEX 8,000 RPMs.
For those of you who live outside North America, the Civic Si is the North American, slightly watered down version of the Civic Type R. So,
It's awesome.
yeah. It's still good though. Rim, what's been making you, apart from trans breaks, what's been making you happy this week?
Little Witch Academia. I actually finished that whole show, and good God, is that the most delightful anime I've seen in a long time. That and Overwatch Deathmatch. Because I win a lot of Overwatch deathmatches because these kids don't remember what deathmatch is like, and I play Symmetra, and they don't like it. They really
I was
don't
wondering.
like it.
I was really wondering if
it's
Symmetra was going to be good in that.
Oh, so the if someone's good, Widow
Yeah, not good
and
at all.
Hanzo will like win. But if they're not great, then Junkrat and Symmetra are like number 1, number 2 every time. You'll see games that are all Symmetras and all Junkrats and one Hanzo.
Wealthy Aardvark is asking, is anybody here playing PUBG besides Churba?
I'm going to play it this weekend. My coworkers were all talking about it today.
Oh yes.
I just overhear all these engineers in the corner, and one of them's like, PUBG, what's PUBG? Oh, it's Player Unknown Battlegrounds. And then I just like,
Oh, you mean Plunkbat?
Wait, is that game where they drop a bunch of people and they have to find weapons and do battle?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or
Battle
get
Royale.
a giant electric circle.
Battle Royale, the game.
I'm into it because one of my favorite things to do in Counter-Strike, even though it was sort of heretical, was gun game.
Oh, gun game.
I was
love
real good at
games.
gun game.
I love that. Is one thing I definitely enjoyed. Like I keep reinstalling Counter-Strike Go, even though I'm awful at it, just to play gun game. And then I get
It's fun.
screamed at by a 12-year-old who is apparently streaming to YouTube and has 2 fucking viewers. And then I uninstall again because I hate that.
Right.
I had someone repeatedly and constantly threaten to kill me because I kept playing Symmetra and I kept winning.
Oh.
Skojo, what's been making you happy this week?
Man, this week's been depressing because I came back from a vacation.
Should we just go with your darling daughter? Is that what we should
Yeah, I
just go with?
was gonna default with that and be like, oh look, it's Kaylee. Here, talk, Kaylee.
Hi,
Hi.
Hi,
Kaylee.
Kaylee. How are you?
It's up past her bedtime.
Stay up late. He can't put you to bed.
She also can't hear us, sadly.
She can't.
Wow,
Yeah,
Rao,
no.
fight the power.
And
One
she's
day
got,
she'll be old. One day she'll be old enough to understand all the secret knowledge that me and Scott Rubin are going to tell her about her father and her mother. I've known them both. I know things.
I have a much less sinister plan, which is just teach her all of the cool stuff that her dad probably would say, I'm not teaching you that.
I'm gonna do the boring thing and teach her how to have the best goddamn audio a YouTuber can ever have.
Yeah.
So,
This is all moot because she's gonna play field hockey and be a total athlete.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. She's gonna be a Republican.
Republican field hockey player.
I can teach her field hockey too.
No,
My
she's-
mother nearly joined the Olympic team for field hockey.
On my part, what is making me happy is the fact that I'm gonna be getting a Note 8. Whoop!
Nice. Are you going to get some giant hands to go with your giant phone?
You mean more than I already do with my Note 5 and what I did with the Note 7 or the Note 4 or the Note 3? I need the big phone, Cherbs.
What are you compensating for, man?
I'm
I can
the
get, like,
ability
all-
to do multiple things at once. Fucking A.
I'm so excited about the fact that I got him to just go, I'm being a book but
No, I love the stylus, man. You have no idea how often I use the screen off note features. It's
Actually,
so great.
I did get one loaned to me after Telstra. I believe it was when they fucked up was it the second or the third
7.
refurbished phone that they fucked up? They
Right.
gave me a Note 6 or 7. I can't remember when it was or if it was
There's
before
no
the
6.
Note recall.
There's
Anyway.
Note 7 that got recalled.
They gave me a giant Note, and I was just like, I wouldn't carry this around, but it is quite pleasant.
I would. I'm super excited for the dual cameras with that f1.6 on the back.
Yeah.
So
What does
excited.
that even mean?
So I'm looking. I was gonna buy a studio camcorder, and I saw something crazy. So this is like the old camcorder we have. It's like this ancient full HD. You can, for the price of a studio camcorder, you can get a Samsung that is just as big as this, like really tiny. It records in like ridiculous 4K. It's really high quality. It has a second camera here that catches a high quality wide angle of whatever shot you've zoomed in on and records them both.
Built-in 2-cam.
Yeah, I'm real
Yeah.
excited about this camcorder.
Daddy 2-cam?
Daddy 2-cam. All right, folks. Well, that is it for this week. Thank you to Churba, George, Skojo, and Rim for the first time in forever. I
I'm
do hope you come
back!
back fairly soon.
My spotlights are all the way up.
Join us next week for Acceptable
really bright.
Vices, and coming up next week is going to be the premiere of a brand new series on the YouTube channel, Behind the Screen Basics, where we go into explaining some of the fundamentals of media production. I'm Victor Frost, and see you next week on Acceptable Vices. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Or good night.